Okay, going to be a wild year. Yes, hello, Simone. Returning the love right back to you. Going to be a wild year and Happy New Year's again. Yeah, Happy New Year's again. So let's get right started here. The S&P is over 5K. I mean, yeah, yeah. I'm kind of speechless, but um, on the monthly chart, I'm noticing some divergence. So with the RSI. Let me put a trend line here. So despite the new highs, we're making higher lows. So again, how long this will go, I do not know, but um, it should not last that much longer. Say we get up to, I don't know, maybe 82 on the RSI to see if it'll roll over. If not, we could go higher. I leave it right now, everything is kind of up in the air. Convention is being put aside for just randomization. Uh, what? Look at the economic calendar. We have tomorrow the CPI data. We have PPI coming out. So that's going to shift a lot of things. Uh, Whether that's shift them forward up, or shift them in more of a corrective mode. So that's what I'll be looking out for tomorrow, to see what the CPI data looks like, see what the PPI data looks like. I believe it comes out. This is a good site, by the way. I don't know if you guys use FX Street, um, Forex Street, but their economic calendar, they give a breakdown of all this, and then they do a really good job of sharing something like this, why it matters to traders, essentially investors. So you can kind of just tie in the relevancy as to why this data is important, and it's color coded. Obviously, something is dark reddish orange is of high importance. OPEC monthly report isn't really that big of a deal, but you have it out there. So this is a good website. I'll drop it here in the chat. Again, it's fxstreet.com economic calendar. And yep, that's right, 8:30 a.m. And then you guys can kind of bookmark that and just see what's happening globally. You get to see all that's happening, um, if you don't already have one. So obviously the narrative is inflation. So we have the S&P pushing up. We have the NASDAQ. I mean, everything is pushing higher. Uh, and Bitcoin. Bitcoin is over 50K. I already did some levels here, but this really looks like a strong monthly candle. So I'm assuming it's going to pierce 51.2, this resistance 3, before potentially pulling back. I mean, it is definitely overextended. Right down here is the 20. And usually when cryptos or any asset gets above its 20 EMA, it pulls back. It's just a matter of when. From our last meeting, I had a line here at the RSI because I expect a lower touch. So we haven't yet hit it. Uh, so we'll see. This will pump up higher. You really could be looking at 53,000. That looks like a good resistance point. If I had to do an R4 resistance 4, it would be here. Uh, and we'll see. We'll see if it touches R4 and go from there. I mean, outside of that, we get past R4. I mean, then it's 56, and then I think at that level psychologically, you're going to be looking at everyone trying to push it past um, that 69K mark. So we'll see how long it holds up. Like I said, it is highly overextended on the 20. So that's something that you can't overlook. But I mean, the momentum has just been there. Like I said, this is really looking bullish on this candle, um, and whatnot. So let's move forward with what Chainlink. Let's take a look at Link. Uh, One thing to note about Chainlink is that it did its consolidation pattern back in 2 years ago, May 2022. It did this consolidation pattern, pumped up, did another consolidation pattern, and now it's pumped up again. So we're gonna see what plays out here. If I had short-term resistance on this, you're looking at 20, and then maybe 23 up here. Uh, the thing is, it's just what's driving all this momentum. That's just my thing, just really taking a look at the markets. I don't know if it's the idea that risk on assets or small caps are desirable. Yeah, yeah, bought a Jamaican, chasing the narrative. I'm wondering if the halving narrative is now the next big thing. First we had the ETFs, now it is the halving. Um, but if it's technically the halving, then we should see more Bitcoin pushing higher, and then the altcoins kind of trending lower. So it's holding up. Altcoins have been holding up this cycle. I wonder if it's due to more liquidity potentially being in the system compared to last cycle. Uh, but yeah, just waiting to see. I mean, this is another one that jumped past the let me zoom in here. Jumped past its 20 EMA. This is here on a daily. So, and it still is extended over the 20 here. So, you could be looking at a $10 pullback once things settle down um overall in the markets. But yeah, I mean, Chainlink could push up to $23. That'd be a nice little run, and then see what happens there. All right. Let's see everything else. I mean, Solana started running up again. So I got it's a lot of levels on Solana. 122 is where it pierced, had that before, and then came right back down. So it may test 122 again before coming back down. Uh yeah, so that's crypto. We have inflation. Um let's take a look at this. I was talking about ETFs. So here's the Bitcoin ETF for iTrust. And I mean oops, that's a pretty big candle. So this would be technically a if you don't include the wicks, then this is a bullish engulfing candle for the Bitcoin trust. So, but I think it's still in price discovery. You got a lot of gaps here on the daily. So eventually, if we start to make a move to the downside, the gaps get filled. The pump that is happening now is most likely due to the halving narrative. Yeah, yeah, Lamar. That's what I'm thinking overall, because really nothing's lined up yet. Um, Goods are still expensive. Commodities are still high, meaning, which saying that to say is that inflation is still present. And yeah, it's just the having narrative. But altcoins, what I was just saying, altcoins are holding up better, it appears, compared to prior cycles, which could be due to more money into the system this go around. And then as well as like a mix of risk on assets being still somewhat favorable, and that the markets are not taking what uh, the Federal Reserve was indicating about only doing 3 hikes this year. Because to my knowledge, I've heard reports that the markets have factored in 7 or 6 rate cuts. Excuse me, not hikes, cuts. Only 3 rate cuts, the Fed said, but the market's factoring in 6 or 7. So, and then Jerome Powell recently had that 60 minutes interview. So trying to, talk down the market. Um, and I'm noticing the same narrative across other Federal Reserve banks. They all talk the same lingo to a certain degree because they're all connected. And yeah, but the iTrust, Bitcoin shares, and the Fidelity, are pretty much similar style charts. And if we do get a pullback, when we do get a pullback, got a lot of gap to fills here and whatnot. Yeah, you're welcome. Speaking of inflation, we got OJ. OJ's pulling back, so it's got a gap to fill. Looks like it's going to eventually test that, but it really had a nice run. Really had a nice run here. I've been keeping an eye on it, so I see it pulling back. Could probably, which could play into a quote unquote cool off narrative on inflation, but I still I'm still not convinced that that this is over. This is over yet. I mean, I go grocery shopping. Things are more expensive. Junk food is more expensive now than some organic products, and that used to not always be the case. Even fast food chains like McDonald's. Um, Read a report about Taco Bell. Because they are being charged more. It's costing like, I don't know, 13, $18 to get some Taco Bell, get your guts messed up. um, but yeah, so the fast food chains are more expensive. I saw that recently when I took my kids. They wanted what one night they just wanted McDonald's. So I was like, wow, I'm paying how much for for chicken nuggets meals? Okay. So yeah, I'm still not convinced inflation has been tamed. And it's not just OJ. You have even, where are we at? Futures, uh, miscellaneous. Where are we at? Cotton, agriculture. Where are we at? Cocoa. Look at this on cocoa. Like, my God. So we're talking about 1,000 point move. This was January of this year, and it's at 4,100. And literally over a month later, we are at 5,500 on cocoa. So this is pretty important if you're not familiar. That ties in with anybody who uses chocolate. So the cost of it, it's going to cost them. Cocoa is an ingredient. Oh, let me do this intraday overview, and let's see what comes to mind when you think chocolate. Nestle Quick, uh, but we got the Hershey Company, which I believe is owned by them. So they had a beat on earnings, but let's see if they had any kind of yeah, look at that. Yeah, right here from Benzinga. There we go. Cocoa Crunch, pricing woes, Morgan Stanley flash Hershey's bitter aftertaste, downgrades the stock. So this makes total sense as to paying attention to an analyst downgrade. Generally, I don't pay much attention to these, but for futures, you would have when it comes to equities. But for futures, I would kind of see exactly if there's any kind of validity. The fact that, let's see, last week Hershey reported sales of 2.6 billion, slight increase, 0.2% year over year, missing the consensus though of 2.7 billion, and an adjusted EPS earnings per share was $2.02. So basically flat line year over year. The company expect net sales growth of 2 to 3%, and adjusted earnings per share to be flat year over year. And analysts are cautioned about this because the company's midterm outlook, given the excessive cocoa inflation, a tougher pricing environment, and then a weaker consumer demand for confectionery and popcorn. So, I mean, short term, you know, this still represents inflation. I'm only bringing this up for the inflation narrative. I think the Hershey company is going to be fine because look, everybody loves most people love chocolate in some way, shape, or form. But the cost for Hershey to add this ingredient is becoming much more expensive, and they're going to have to pass that on to consumers. And speaking of passing things on to consumers, what was this by Biden? I don't know if you guys saw this. What is it? Biden asked for corpse to what was it? Ease to discount. Let's say I think it's something like that. Biden slams corporations over high consumer costs. Yeah. So he's done this a few times. He did that back in November of last year, but I thought I saw something recently of him saying that again.
For the price gouging thing.
Yeah, yeah. Biden price
Yeah,
gouging. Exactly. So, um,
I think he had a
yeah.
Super Bowl ad too related to that.
Oh, really? Yeah. I was in and out on the Super Bowl. I saw a few ads. I don't know if you guys caught what was his name? What's the dude's name who started Twitter? Jack Dorsey. He had a Satoshi Nakamoto shirt on when he was up there in the booth with Beyonce and Jay-Z. But saying this all to say, guys, is that inflation is still here. The fact that this man is making a plea for prices to come down, that tells you everything. So cocoa, look at that, 1,000 point move. Like, wow. You
Yeah, but the
futures.
market don't give a damn.
No, right now, no. I think I don't think they're taking Jerome Powell's word, the Federal Reserve's word about only being able to cut 3 times this year, and the first cut is going to come in Q2. So that's what they were saying. That's what they've been saying. Now, we do know mathematically that rates, they will have to cut something because just due to the debt situation for the nation. You can't have $34 trillion in debt with these types of elevated rates. So they're going to have to do something to help out. But the market still thinks 6 cuts are on the table this year. And we'll see. We'll see what happens. March is going to be the next Fed meeting. And what is it? Yeah, Fed meeting March.
Is it happening next month or April? The Bitcoin happening.
Oh,
It's
Bitcoin having is
April.
in, yeah, April. Yep.
Okay, April.
Yeah. So March 19th of this year is going to be the next Fed meeting, 19th, 20. So we'll see what comes out then. And again, we got a lot of other factors that play into this. If this Red Sea, if these shipping lanes keep getting, hit, then this will eventually affect things. Add into inflation. Uh, what was that about? China grows for China to act. Red Sea shipping attacks continue pressure. Yeah, and China this week is on their they're in their China holiday or whatever it is, the week long. Uh, what is it? China.
For a lunar holiday or
Yeah,
something.
there you go. China lunar yeah, there it is. So markets might be a little extra quiet in some areas because, their exchange is closed. I'm pretty sure they're glad about that. Uh,
Yeah, that's
because
why I thought some of the liquidity was coming from was China, since their market is in the garbage. So they're investing in the American market.
yeah, yeah, they're it's bad when the government has to tell exchanges to not allow short selling. I mean, that tells you
Yeah.
everything right there.
And that's why I'm like, it's weird because like the article I posted about like even retail is not really in the market. That's why I'm like, this is all BlackRock's doing. That's how I'm
Yeah,
looking at it.
yeah, institutional money, yes.
Yeah,
And BlackRock, others,
grayscale and all of them.
yeah,
Because retail is not
Blackstone.
even FOMOing in right now at 50K. You would thought they would have been FOMOing in, but they're not even doing that.
Yeah, see, and you bring up a valid point here. Now the growing talk is credit, consumer credit. The average consumer is in consumer debt.
Or it's a lot of delinquency because people can't pay
Yeah,
no damn credit card bills.
yeah, it's getting pretty bad out here. And then you factor in student loans. Some, not all, but some did not take advantage